Casualties of Law by Christopher Archer. Interior, Tom Wallace's house, night. Tom Wallace, 32, is sitting in his recliner watching television with a beer in his hand. Rachel Wallace, 31, enters holding a bag of groceries. She drops her keys in a small bowl by the front door. She tries not to look at Tom and hurries towards the kitchen.
Where the hell have you been?
I was just out buying groceries. Dinner will be ready in about 30 minutes.
Tom enters the kitchen, beer still in hand.
In 30 minutes, dinner will be an hour late.
I'm sorry, my class ran late, and then I needed to go to the store.
I don't want to hear your excuses. Tomorrow you're dropping out of that school. It's a waste of my hard-earned money anyway.
Tom, no. If I get my degree, I can make more money at work.
Tom backhands Rachel across the face.
Don't talk to me down to me like that. I make enough money as it is.
Tom, you're drunk. I don't like you when you're like this. You can make your own dinner. I'm going to stay with my sister tonight. Call me when you sober up.
Tom grabs Rachel by the forearm when she tries to walk away.
You're not going anywhere.
Rachel reels back and punches Tom with her free hand. Tom stumbles back and catches himself on the counter. Next to where he caught himself, he sees the knife block and locks his eyes on a knife. Rachel looks terrified. Exterior, Tom Wallace's front yard, night.
No! No!
Exterior, Alan Green's backyard, night. The yard is decorated with congratulatory decorations for Samantha Green. There are picnic tables and Alan Green, 65, is barbecuing. About a dozen friends and family are roaming around talking. Samantha Green, 26, is the center of attention and is currently talking with a small group of guests, including Aunt Martha, 68, and Uncle Dan, 68.
So Samantha, why the public defender's office?
It's a great way to get trial experience right out of law school, so I figure I'll do that for a couple years, and then maybe find a nice high-paying, fishy private firm.
And pay off all those student loans?
Ah yes, the realities of higher education. Though my dad has helped me a lot, so thankfully I can afford to take this opportunity.
Alan approaches the group with a plate of hot dogs.
It was worth every penny, though I wish she would have taken a job prosecuting criminals rather than defending them.
And here I thought the courts decided who was innocent. I took a job to represent and execute the law.
Oh, I'm sure you'll catch an innocent one from time to time, but if the police made an arrest and the DA is pressing charges, then it's probably a foregone conclusion that the guy is guilty.
Solid due process, Dad.
Better not get in an argument with a lawyer, Alan.
Apologies, counselor.
Light laughter from the group. Exterior, Tom Wallace's front yard, night. A single car is parked in the driveway and police lights flash on the front of the house. Interior, Tom Wallace's house, night. Detective Jim Shepard, 30, stands over the lifeless body of Rachel Wallace. There's blood all over the scene. Shepard paces around the kitchen, watching his steps carefully. His eyes lock on a knife block, which is missing a knife. He looks up at Officer Johnson, 22.
Has anyone found the knife that's missing from here?
No, sir. I can ask the husband. He's still handcuffed in the squad car out front.
I doubt he's going to be very helpful.
So you think you did it?
It certainly looks that way, which means he definitely doesn't want to help us. Or he is innocent of this and is in too much shock to help us. Either way, he's no use to us right now.
Shepard walks back into the entryway. He sees 2 sets of keys in a bowl.
Is there a car in the garage?
No.
There's only one car in the driveway, but they have 2 distinct sets of keys here.
So?
Where's the other car?
With a gloved hand, Jim picks up one of the keys and pushes the lock button. Nothing happens. He tries the other key and lights flash from outside. Jim hands Johnson the first key.
Take a walk around the neighborhood and see if you can find the car this key goes to. If you find it, come back here and tell me.
Yes, sir.
Johnson takes the key and exits the house. Exterior, Alan Green's backyard, night. Alan is cleaning up the yard. Samantha enters the yard from the house.
Well, it took some doing, but Uncle Dan and I were able to get Aunt Martha into the car.
No one celebrates like my sister does.
Samantha starts helping clean up. She picks up a trash bag and starts filling it with paper plates and plastic cups.
Sam, you don't have to help clean up. I'm sure you have somewhere better to be.
Samantha thinks for a moment.
No, you're wrong.
Well, I know better than to argue with you.
I'm sorry I had to put you in your place earlier, Officer Green.
I had it coming.
Alan retrieves a small wooden box from its hiding place by the barbecue.
I got you a graduation present.
Dad, you've done enough already. You helped pay for my school, you threw me this party.
A father is allowed to dote upon his daughter.
Alan gives the box to his daughter. Samantha opens the box, revealing a small revolver.
A gun? How unique.
I know. It's not a traditional law school graduation / bar passing gift.
I'll admit I was expecting maybe a nice set of pens or a briefcase. This is nice too.
I know you're optimistic and have maybe romanticized the experience of working as a public defender, but some of these guys you'll be dealing with are dangerous. I'd feel a lot better if you have something to protect yourself with.
Samantha gives her dad a sideways smile and closes the box. She's touched by how much she cares, but also thinks she's acting a little silly.
Thanks, Dad.
Samantha gives Alan a hug. Interior, Samantha's bedroom, morning. Samantha is finishing getting ready for the day. She sees the gun box on her dresser and opens it. She looks at the gun for a moment, then closes the box. She picks up the box and takes it to a safe in her closet and locks it inside. She exits her closet, grabs her briefcase, and exits. Interior, Public Defender's bullpen, morning. Samantha is being led through the bullpen by Phil Marks. They arrive at a mostly empty desk except for the stack of files, a computer, and a desk lamp.
And this is where you'll be working, and these will be your cases.
Wow, not taking it easy on the new guy.
Can't afford to, Miss Green. Welcome to the realities of the Public Defender's Office. You'll get more cases in here, much more than attorneys receive in a year.
Well, I wanted experience.
Good, we have that in spades.
I'm excited to get started.
Try holding on to that enthusiasm. Look, don't get too invested into any of these cases. Our mission here is to just get through as many of these as possible. Most of the time, you'll just be negotiating plea deals with the district attorney.
And when a client doesn't want to take a plea?
Sometimes, as their attorney, it's our responsibility to encourage them to make the smartest decision.
I will defend all clients to the best of my abilities.
Phil gives her a knowing look and smiles as if he's seen dozens of wide-eyed attorneys come through there looking to make a difference.
Well, I'll let you get to it then. My office is just over there if you need anything.
Thanks.
Phil heads off to his office and Samantha sits at her desk. She grabs the file on top of the stack and opens it. Interior, Public Defender's bullpen, night. Samantha sits alone at her desk. The lights are low in the bullpen. She works with a single desk lamp illuminating her workspace. Phil comes out of his office, notices Samantha, and approaches her desk.
Don't burn out on your first day, Samantha.
Samantha gives a light chuckle.
Don't worry about me, boss. This is exactly why I went to law school. This is my kind of work.
Well, I like your enthusiasm.
Phil rummages around in his beat-up old briefcase and pulls out a file.
You want to take a crack at a homicide?
Samantha takes the file and opens it.
Usually I wouldn't give a new hire a homicide case, but this one is pretty much open and shut.
Shouldn't a jury make that call?
Don't worry if it comes to that. They will. Police have the murder weapon with the suspect's fingerprints and with the victim's blood. The suspect was also covered in the victim's blood when the police arrived at the scene.
So you're giving me a case I can't win?
I'm offering you a homicide case on your first day. But if you don't want the experience...
No, I'll get right on it.
Thought so.
Phil takes a couple of steps. Samantha is already reading the file intently.
But tomorrow, Miss Green, go home, get some sleep. Continue fighting for the little guy in the morning.
Samantha closes the file.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Phil starts to leave.
I'll be here.
I have no doubt.
Phil exits. Samantha gets up with her briefcase and turns off her desk lamp. She starts to exit, then returns and grabs her new file and takes it with her. Interior Police Holding Area, sign-in desk, morning. Samantha is sitting in a waiting area when Detective Jim Shepard answers.
Miss Green?
Yes, Detective Shepard?
Jim sticks out his hand to shake Samantha's hand. Samantha meets his hand.
Call me Jim.
Samantha.
I got a call from your office saying you want to interview our suspect.
My client.
Fair enough. We have him through here.
Jim leads Samantha to the interrogation room door. Interior interrogation room. Jim opens the door and they enter. Tom Wallace is handcuffed to the table.
Mr. Wallace, your attorney is here.
Tom stares angrily at the detective.
Thank you, Detective. I'll take it from here.
I should probably stay with you.
I don't think I need to remind you of attorney-client privilege.
This man killed his wife.
Allegedly. And he's handcuffed to the table, and the table is bolted to the floor. Our conversation has to remain private. It's his right.
All right. I'll be just outside if you need anything.
Thank you, Detective.
Jim exits the interrogation room. Samantha takes a seat across from Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Wallace. I'm Samantha Green. I'll be your attorney.
Tom remains quiet.
Sir, you've been accused of killing your wife, Rachel Wallace. You were found standing over her body, covered in blood, and the murder weapon was retrieved with your fingerprints on it. So maybe we should get started by you telling me your side of the story.
Tom continues to sit in silence.
Mr. Wallace, if I'm going to help you, you're going to have to give me something to work with. The police and the DA are very confident in their case against you.
I returned home late, found my wife dead. The police are too lazy to investigate beyond the first guy they found.
Okay, you got home and found her dead. How did your prints get on the knife?
It's my fucking kitchen knife. I've touched it before.
Take it easy, Mr. Wallace. There's no reason to get worked up.
My wife is dead, Miss Green. I'm in jail for her murder, and I have a twit of an attorney. I have a few reasons to get worked up.
Interior police station, outside of interrogation room. Samantha Green exits the interrogation room. Jim is waiting outside with the uniformed officer, Johnson.
How did it go?
Well, he's understandably emotional.
It's the nicest way I've ever heard someone say asshole.
He may not be the nicest guy, but he brought up some solid points. His prints on the weapon isn't that odd, considering it's his knife. His prints could have ended up there any time.
The prints weren't exactly on the handle, miss.
What do you mean?
We found his fingerprints and dried blood on the handle of the knife. The victim's blood, sorry.
He could have touched it after he found her dead.
Yeah, I see it. He found his dead wife and then hid the murder weapon. Maybe your energy would be better spent helping us rather than getting in the way of justice.
Take it easy, Johnson. Miss Green is just doing her job, same as us.
This is part of the justice process, officer. If my client is guilty, which it is certainly looking that way, then he'll be properly punished by the courts. My job is to represent his side of the case to the best of my ability. So when he's convicted, there will be no doubt of his guilt.
Johnson nods solemnly.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
Don't worry about it. We're all on the same side here. We want the same things you want. The bad guys go to jail, and the innocent stay safe.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Is there anything more we can do for you, Samantha?
No, I believe I've gotten all I'm going to get from Mr. Wallace for now, and I have other cases to tend to.
All right, then. You have a good day.
You as well, Detective Officer.
Ma'am.
Samantha exits as Jim and Johnson watch her leave. Interior Public Defender's bullpen, day. Samantha is working at her desk, typing on her computer. William Ernest approaches Samantha's desk.
Excuse me, are you Samantha Green?
Samantha stops typing and looks up to William.
Yes, how can I help you?
My name is William Ernest. I'm with the District Attorney's Office. I'm the prosecution for the state versus Thomas Wallace. And in fact, I'm actually here to help you.
Is that so?
Sorry about that. It sounded cooler and less condescending in my head.
Samantha smiles at William.
Have a seat, Mr. Ernest.
William sits on the chair next to Samantha's desk.
Thank you. What I meant to say is that I'm here to present you and your client with a plea deal.
What do you got?
In exchange for a full confession for the murder of Rachel Wallace, we won't seek the death penalty.
So life in prison then?
It's more than he deserves. Do you disagree?
I can't say with 100% certainty that he's guilty, though it does look that way. If he did kill his wife, then yes, it's a very generous offer. I'm actually a little surprised with how generous.
William looks a little nervous.
Well, the DA's office has been pretty swamped lately. Dragging this through court will take up resources better spent elsewhere. Can I count on you to take this to your client?
Of course. I'm even going to try and convince him to take it. Sadly, I can't make any promises. He hasn't wavered in his claim of innocence.
His tune will probably change when he's faced with choosing between a lethal injection versus 3 square meals a day at the taxpayer's expense.
Samantha nods in agreement. Phil Marks steps out of his office and notices William and Samantha talking.
Ernest? Will, Ernest? What brings you to this side of the justice system?
Hey Phil, I'm here for the Wallace murder.
You don't have any underlings you can push these nuisance cases to? That's what I did.
Hey,
Phil shrugs his shoulders at Samantha.
so I take it you two know each other.
Well, yeah. Will here is the deputy district attorney.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Don't be. Well, I better be off.
I'll walk you out.
Thanks. And Miss Green, call my officer after you've taken our offer to your client.
Will do.
William gives Samantha a reassuring smile while Phil watches on quizzically. Will and Phil exit. Samantha picks up her phone and starts dialing. Interior interrogation room. Tom Wallace is seated, handcuffed to the table. Samantha enters and takes a seat across from him.
Good morning, Mr. Wallace.
Tom sits silently.
I'm here to relay to you a plea bargain from the district attorney's office.
Tom remains silent but begins to look angry.
In exchange for a full confession, the district attorney has promised to not seek the death penalty.
Let me try to explain this so maybe you can understand. I did not kill my wife, so I will not be confessing to the contrary. Am I being clear enough for you, you dumb?
Please calm down, Mr. Wallace. It's part of my job to bring you any deal the DA offers for your consideration. It's also part of my job to advise you of what your best course of action is. There was an overwhelming amount of evidence that supports the charges against you. They don't need to offer you this deal, and it is certainly the best you're going to get from them. As such, if you can give me no evidence to support your claim of innocence, I must recommend you take the deal. There is always a possibility that evidence will emerge that could exonerate you. Life in prison provides you that opportunity, while the death penalty limits the possibility of you ever walking free again.
Listen here, if you are incapable of properly doing your job, then maybe you should find a different line of work. So how about you actually get out of my face before I am actually guilty of killing someone?
Tom pulls on the shackles that have him attached to the table as he lunges a little towards Samantha. Samantha jumps back and up out of her chair. Samantha gathers her composure and straightens her jacket.
Well, if there is nothing else, I will be going. I will inform the district attorney you declined his offer.
Samantha turns and leaves. Interior police station outside of interrogation room. Samantha closes the door to the interrogation room and leans heavily on the wall and exhales deeply. Ma'am, is everything all right?
Yes, thank you. We're done. You can return Mr. Wallace to his cell now.
Samantha exits. The officer enters the interrogation room. Interior police holding area, sign-in desk. Detective Jim Shepard is talking with the officer at the reception desk. Samantha enters looking distraught. Jim notices her.
Samantha, is everything all right?
Detective, yes, I'm fine. I just had a stressful meeting with Mr. Wallace.
What happened?
I'm afraid I can't discuss that, Detective.
Of course, you're right. And please, call me Jim.
Right, Jim, I'm sorry. I guess I let him get under my skin.
Being locked in a room with that monster can do that.
Samantha nods slightly, trying not to clearly agree with Jim.
Hey, I was about to head down to the mess for a coffee. Can I buy you a cup?
Isn't the coffee here free?
It's the thought that counts.
Samantha thinks about it for a moment.
I don't know. It seems a little inappropriate. You are the lead detective in my client's case.
Hey, with all that said, we're on the same side. Besides, my involvement with the case is done until I'm called to testify.
True.
We won't even talk about the case. It's just two colleagues getting coffee.
Okay, 1 cup.
Samantha and Jim exit. Interior police station mess. Jim and Samantha are sitting at a small table drinking coffee and talking.
You did not.
I did, and I would do it again. This was the third time I arrested this guy for urinating on the hood of parked cars. It seemed only fair that while handcuffing him, I pressed him down into his own mess.
That's horrible.
Works with dogs.
You're a bad man.
I know. But he hasn't been caught peeing on cars in over a year, so I must be doing something right.
Or your serial urinator has outwitted you.
That's why I transferred to homicide. The indecent exposure racket became too much for me.
Well, you seem to be doing well enough now. It would seem you have my client dead to rights.
He made it easy on us. He could have found a better place to hide the murder weapon than inside his own car.
Probably.
Samantha pauses for a moment.
You found the knife in his car?
Yeah, down the block from his house.
You could see the knife from outside the car?
Jim looks nervous.
Well, no, not exactly.
Where was the knife, Jim?
It was in the trunk. Hey, I thought we weren't going to talk about the case.
Was there blood on the car connecting the two scenes? I've been through this case forwards and backwards. There is no mention of a warrant being granted to search Wallace's car.
Samantha, what are you getting at?
Without exigent circumstances or a warrant, you obtained your key piece of evidence illegally.
It was an anxious rookie. He was only supposed to search the nearby area for Wallace's car and report back. I gave him the keys to find it quicker. Then he took it upon himself to search the car when he found it.
You knew that the knife was inadmissible.
What does it matter how we found the knife? This doesn't change anything, Samantha. The knife was in his car, covered with his fingerprints and his wife's blood. He killed her.
Damn it, detective. Of course he killed her. You can feel it in the air when you're around him. He did it. He feels no sorrow or remorse for it. And now he just might get away with it.
There's no reason this conversation has to reach this table, Samantha.
You want me to subvert due process because your department fucked up?
I know getting this guy off would be good for your career. And if it ever came out that you ignored evidence, it could end your career. But this is the right thing to do, Samantha.
This has nothing to do with my career, detective. The laws that govern how you and your officers are to treat suspects and personal property don't exist to hinder your ability to do your job. They're there to make sure you do it right. So when the time comes, the guilty go to jail, and there's no need for backroom deals.
Come on, Samantha. Surely you can see what needs to be done.
Miss Green, detective. We should probably keep this professional from here on out. I won't subvert the justice system for you. I will, however, keep you trying to convince me to commit a felony to myself as a professional courtesy.
Jim looks defeated. Samantha gets up from her seat.
I suggest you get back to work and find new evidence to convict my client, Detective Shepard. We will just have to hope it's enough to see justice done.
Samantha turns and exits, leaving Jim alone at the table. Interior Public Defender's bullpen. Samantha's working at her computer, looking very determined. Phil Marks sits down on the chair next to her desk. Samantha doesn't look up from her work.
So I hear that homicide I gave you is really heating up.
That's one way to put it.
William Ernest called me earlier. Told me you found out the murder weapon was obtained illegally by police, making it inadmissible in court.
I'm working on the motion in the line right now to keep it out of the trial.
William was hoping I would speak with you.
Did he ask you to tell me to ignore a huge violation of my client's rights, too?
No, he's not quite as quiet as blunt as Detective Shepard. In fact, he asked me to relay an apology to you on his behalf. He does, however, hope that a plea deal can still be reached.
Samantha stops typing.
My client didn't want to take a deal when they had an open and shut case. Even though going to trial all but guaranteed him the death penalty.
I mentioned that. But that was the old deal. Now they're offering 20 years with possibility of parole in 10.
Samantha just stares at Phil.
It's a much better deal. Losing the knife was a blow, but it hardly guarantees Tom Wallace's freedom. Maybe he will see sense.
Samantha exhales deeply and looks concerned.
I'll take it to him first thing tomorrow.
You want me to come with?
No, he's my client. I'll take care of it.
Phil gets up from the desk and starts back towards his office. Samantha sits in her chair, rocking back and forth, looking pensive. Phil turns back towards Samantha.
Hey,
Samantha turns and looks.
you did good work today.
Samantha nods, then turns back to her desk. Exterior, Alan Green's backyard. Alan is cooking at the barbecue.
I may have bought too much food for your graduation party. I'm going to be eating hot dogs and hamburgers for weeks.
Samantha picks up a large package of hot dogs.
How many hot dogs did you think Aunt Martha was going to eat?
It's those wholesale stores. They're the ones to blame.
Sure they are.
Is everything all right, Sam? You seem a little distracted.
It's work stuff. You don't want to hear about it.
Are you kidding me? Of course I want to hear about it.
Alan makes a couple plates of hot dogs up, and they sit together on a picnic table.
It's this homicide case I'm working on.
Aren't you a little green to be getting homicide cases?
It was supposed to be open and shut, just something to get my feet wet. The police had my client dead to rights.
So what's wrong?
The murder weapon was obtained illegally. Without it, the case against my client just got a lot less slam dunk. The lead detective asked me to ignore the way the evidence was collected.
Are you going to?
Of course not. I filed a motion to have it stricken today.
Samantha, thought I raised you better than that.
Better than following the law?
There's the law, and then there's justice. Is your guy guilty?
Probably.
Then you're helping him get away with murder.
It's not that simple, Dad. The courts decide who is guilty, not me, not you. If the police did their job right, this wouldn't be a problem.
They caught him, didn't they?
They caught somebody, but unless they can prove my client did something wrong, the jury will have no choice but to let him go.
Your naive idealism was fine when you were writing papers in law school, Sam, but now it's going to let a killer back on the streets.
I can't just choose when to bend the law to suit my idea of justice.
Alan stands up.
I expected more from you.
Alan turns and enters his house.
Dad!
Interior, Samantha's bedroom. Samantha is finishing getting ready in the morning. She sits at the end of her bed looking into her closet at her safe. Eventually, she gets up and walks into her closet and opens the safe. She retrieves the revolver and turns it over in her hand, examining it for a moment. Samantha shakes her head as if to break a trance, then returns the gun to the safe.
He's cuffed to a table, Sam. You'll be fine.
Samantha exits. Interior, interrogation room. Tom Wallace is cuffed to the table. Samantha walks in and sits across from him. Wallace looks upon her with contempt.
Good morning, Mr. Wallace.
No response from Tom.
There's been some developments in your case. The prosecution has offered another deal.
I told you, I don't want any deals.
They are now offering you 20 years with a possibility of parole in 10.
Tom looks genuinely surprised.
20 years?
For good behavior, you could be out in 10.
I thought you said life in prison is the best I was going to get.
Like I said, there have been some developments.
What kind of developments?
The murder weapon was obtained illegally by police. I filed to have it deemed inadmissible.
What are you talking about?
The knife you used, the knife that was used to kill your wife can't be used during a trial. Without the murder weapon, their case is a lot weaker, which is why they're offering you this deal.
I'll say, and I'd be crazy to accept it.
They still have your neighbor's 911 call and past reports of domestic violence, Mr. Wallace. Not to mention you were covered in her blood when the police arrived. You could still lose this case.
No. Without the murder weapon, they got nothing. I guess you're not so useless after all.
Mr. Wallace, as your counsel, I really must recommend you take the deal. You could be out in 10 years.
You do have a hearing problem, don't you? My wife had a hearing problem, too, sometimes. So let me be clear. I ain't taking any deals. We're going to trial, and I'm walking out of here a free man. You understand me?
Interior police station.
Sorry, that's the answer.
Yeah.
We don't have the rest of this.